We'll open the meeting at 6:41. And is there anybody here that will be speaking? I don't know if this gentleman here,
He's not for public.
He's here for the second
not,
item.
no public participation. Okay, and there's nobody on there either, right?
No one online right now.
Okay. Okay, and you have the agenda, you're really good, so we'll close public participation at 6:42. And we now go to the approval of the minutes from March 24th. Any questions on that? No? Can I have a motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written for March 24th, 2025.
Second.
Second, yes, I'm sorry, I was just looking for a date on here.
Marcy, all in favor?
Linehan, aye.
Just a cool.
Right, Macaulay.
And Silver, aye. Okay, so moved on that. Do you want to go right on? Is there anything you want to take out of order?
Could we actually, so it's not on the agenda because it came up yesterday, but after the agenda was posted, but could we have Socorro discussion go on first? Or is that the one that's on? Sorry, Socorro is the one that's on the agenda.
That this one here,
Yeah, Socorro, yes. So Socorro,
that off, out, and that's for here, is that just informational on Sephora?
it's more of an informational.
Go ahead.
So actually you can come join us at the table. Actually, a public participation, should we have? So, this is Mark, the owner of Sakura. Do we want him to? Do we want him to go over? Actually, do you mind sitting over there? Just because, I think maybe the camera will capture.
Oh.
Yeah. First time actually doing it with the table there, so. Thank you. So, just a little introduction. So we,
Sorry, I think, can we adjust the camera? Like that's almost.
Yeah.
His head. I can't see his head.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's better.
Great, okay. Thank you. Okay, so just for a little context, Dan's gonna go over our most recent inspection at Socorro, which happened a couple days ago. We had some concerns. This is a routine inspection that was conducted, routine inspection, yeah.
Yeah, routine.
We had some concerns about the issues last time, so we went back, did an inspection, and we found a multitude of issues, one of the ones being a rodent infestation at the restaurant. We found conditions that Dan will go over that were concerning enough that we asked the owner to voluntarily close the restaurant until the Board of Health meeting. We wanted to impress upon the importance of health and safety of serving food to the public. This is not the first time we've had concerns about the restaurant. Dan will go over the history of it, but we've had several closures during my time, and then even before we started here in Wakefield, there were a couple of issues before. So we'll kind of go over the history, and if the board has any questions after, you guys can ask us, and then we'll also have a chance to hear from the owner as well. So
Yes. So like Anthony said, so we did a routine inspection yesterday. I was with our inspector Shelby, and we had quite a concerning inspection with 5 critical violations. And you know, the content of the inspection is significant, but a point that I really want to drive home here off the bat is that pretty much all of these violations are repeated violations. And you know, in my tenure here, after a few years working in Wakefield, there has been several inspections at Socorro where we've had repeated violations over and over again, where I go and inspect, I do a follow-up inspection, maybe a couple weeks later, and some of those things have been corrected. Most of the more important violations are corrected. And then I wait for my next routine, and there's another 5, 6, 7 critical violations. Now, before this inspection yesterday, the last time we were there for a routine was in August of 2024. And during that time, we had another significant inspection where we had seven priority violations, and we actually requested that Mark work with a food consultant. I believe it was Victoria Hart. And Victoria, we've worked with on many other different restaurants, and she's very good at what she does. She does very good trainings. So when I see that a restaurant that's been struggling in the past and has been assigned a food safety consultant is still struggling after, we have plenty of documentation that there were trainings done, there was translatable material provided, all sorts of logs provided. It does concern me quite a bit. Now, in this packet that I've attached, there is a very, a very long history of inspections with Socorro where it's been a struggle. We've seen a lot of these violations repeated, for the past 10 years. I noted in one of the inspection forms, I believe it was 2016, that, we cited, for example, the floor, the tiling in the floor and the rear preparation rooms being damaged and needing to be repaired. Well, those repairs still haven't been made almost 10 years later. So it's things like that that concern me. And, tile on the floor is obviously not on the same level as storing raw animal product with cooked animal product. But just to drive home my point, a lot of these things, they just don't get corrected. Or if they do get corrected, it's not for very long. We revert back to the same poor practices. So that's pretty much what I'm getting at. Some of the things from the last inspection report yesterday were bad dating practices, not dating food correctly, food being out of temperature, cooking equipment, utensils not being cleaned and sanitized properly. The list goes on. So that's where I'm at. I'm a little, my recommendation for this would definitely be to bring in a food consultant once again, to try to educate and hopefully kind of drive home the point that, after almost a decade of poor inspection reports, we need to see some sort of change here. Another thing that I've attached as well, and this is the personal information has been redacted, obviously, but Mass DPH actually did a foodborne illness investigation at Socorro at one point in 2017 with a confirmed case of Campylobacter. So it's not like these things, it's not like these violations happen and there's no result of it. You have people that have in the past eaten at Socorro and have had foodborne illnesses. And, it's not a 100% thing that it's only due to Socorro, but it's concerning to me to see a foodborne illness investigation in general. So my point ultimately is that, something needs to change there. We need to take this more seriously. And yeah.
And is it the same owner? Did they change
Correct. It's
ownership?
been the
They
same.
haven't changed ownership in the last 10 years, okay?
No,
How
and
is the employee turnover? Is there a big employee turnover?
I don't believe so. No, a lot of the same employees have been there at least since I've inspected.
and just in the last, I'm sorry.
Just the last couple, when you're saying about when you do your initial, you're unannounced and you find the violations and then you go back within so many days, do you see them fixed right away or there's still like one or two that aren't crucial or?
Yeah, it generally ends up being that the more dire violations are corrected. And the smaller stuff kind of goes.
How long
Goes
does it
along.
probably take them to fix the small stuff? Does it take another two or?
Well,
Yeah, that
for
is.
example, so this would be the third voluntary closure that we've had with Socorro.
In how long?
And
It's fourth.
is it fourth? It might be fourth. And what, like 2 years? 2.5
Well,
years?
since 2022, I think it's
3
been
years.
one each year.
Yeah, and generally when that happens, we go back within days to ensure compliance and to make sure that these things have been fixed. And when it comes to something like the tiles or like the cook line not being cleaned, those things may take a little bit longer because you need to call in a company to redo the floor, or you need to call in someone to do a really deep clean of the kitchen. So it ends up being that we allow them more time to handle those lesser violations, but they don't get fixed anyway. And I still see them on the next routine and the cycle repeats.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
We-
Introduce, could you say your name and your,
Hi, my name is Mark Jones. I'm the owner of Sector since 2014. And regarding the issue that we're talking about, I have something to say. Like for the tile, yeah, it was first reported like 2016 something. And over the last 9 years, I replaced twice. Why is that? Because our back door is very low. Every time it's a big rain, we get flooding from the back door. So the tile pops up. So whenever there's flooding, I have to replace the tile. So there's always a little bit issue with the popping tiles. So I replaced it twice already. Yeah. Okay. Regarding the Cooper line, so I hired the plumber to remove all the gas pipe this morning, and we use the chemical and high pressure wash the whole floor of all grids already. So the rest of the work will be finished tomorrow. Yeah. So I've been working all night and all day today already. Yeah. So we always try my best to fix the restaurant. So over the last 10 years, I learned how to fix anything except my wife. So yeah. So I work very hard to take care of the restaurant, even harder than my house, than my home. Yeah, I know there's still some problem, but I'm still trying my best to fix it. Yeah.
it's also been issues, right, with the freezer. Is it temperature control also, Dan, in that freezer, right, that hasn't really,
Yeah, there's a refrigerator that he uses for salads and dressings, which I'll admit it's lesser concern with things like that, especially with the turnover, but that unit has struggled in the past as well. I mean, I think I did an inspection report in 2022 where I cited him for that as well. So I've seen it struggle in the past.
but it definitely comes back again, like you might not see something in 6 months. And then in your next unannounced inspection, you go back in and it's something from the beginning.
Yeah. The ones that really concern me the most tend to do with cleaning, sanitizing utensils and equipment. And also on this report is misuse of the HACCP plan for sushi. They serve sushi and it's a high-risk food item. And we've had issues in the past, and we had another issue yesterday with the sushi. And sushi requires a lot of documentation, requires knowledge of the plan itself, its critical control points, corrective action, all sorts of logging you need to do. And there's always been a bit of an issue with the HACCP plan. Yesterday, I could see that the person who was testing the sushi rice for me wasn't super familiar with doing it. On top of that, the logs aren't entirely accurate, I don't think. As well as the sushi rice was actually, the pH was too high. For him, he should be at around 4.1 for his sushi rice or lower. And if that's the case where the pH is too high, I'm expecting from the person in charge to know the corrective action of how to fix that, right? So if the sushi rice has been prepared less than an hour, then the corrective action would be to add vinegar and you can still use that sushi. Whereas if it's been longer than an hour, you have to throw it out and start again from scratch.
When was the last time his HACCP was updated or?
So it's reviewed on a yearly basis. The HACCP plan is actually less than a year old because during the summer, the last inspection in August when I was there was again an issue with the HACCP plan. We brought in the food consultant, Victoria Hart, who also is HACCP certified. So she redid the HACCP plan. It's a very good HACCP plan. So it is up to date. His parasite destruction forms are up to date. Trainings have been done with the HACCP. Yeah.
And then I guess the last thing we talked about earlier, but the one thing that really solidified the closing yesterday was just the overwhelming rodent infestation. There were droppings on food preparation surfaces. There was a good amount in the corners of the food preparation room, even on top of the fridge, and food is stored kind of in various places in there. So that was one of the biggest, I think, concerns for us, was the immediate issue, and that's not the first time we've seen that there. And I know it comes and goes, seasonally. You need to change your frequency of pest control to counter what could be going on if there's more rodent activity. It has to be constant rodent control and cleaning. But I just didn't see that yesterday. I don't think we saw that yesterday. It's been a repeated issue with this many droppings, and there was an immediate threat to the safety of the food being served.
Any thoughts or comments?
And there was a food safety consultant brought in August. And then prior to that, also,
I believe we had a food consultant.
I think we've had a consultant before. Yeah.
Mark, did
before-
you have a
before-
food consultant before Victoria?
No, she's being with us.
It was just, okay, so it was just Victoria.
just once, or has she had multiple times that they were
We
together?
need to
She
go.
was with you for, sorry,
That's twice.
So this would be the third recommendation today for a food. Okay, all right.
Rutka, can I say something? Yeah, regarding the rent, yeah, I know that a big issue since last year and this year summer. We find it since last year, and then I found we have the terminate the pest control coming twice a month, and it's still not doing very well, and I found the problem there's holes in the building. Even from the basement from next door to our kitchen. So today we have the contractor come in and look at every single piece of the wall and find every single hole, and we seal it. So hopefully we will and hopefully we will stop this problem. Yeah. It's about it, but most likely it's about the hole and the wall. It's an old building.
And this problem with the tile you were saying, is that every time it rains, it comes in through your back
Big
door?
rain, since I opened like 2014, and whenever the big rain, always flooding in our kitchen. So in March this year, we put up the bar at the back door, we leave it up, so it's like 1 feet, so probably it won't flooding anymore. Yeah, I have to pay for it out of the pocket because the landlord doesn't want to pay for that, yeah.
Marcy, do you have any comment?
No, I'm just thinking about how we were recently talking about rodent control. I know we were talking about that for public facilities, but I am wondering if the person who handles your business twice a month has any comments about, seeing changes or has similar situations across other restaurants. Because that would be good information when thinking about a change in the rodent control. But were you able to fill the holes where you thought there was a problem? Is that what you said? You
Yes, the whole, yeah.
to solve that problem?
In the winter, honestly, in the winter, so I check the kitchen every night after work, and in the winter I didn't see any mice, but since early this month, probably the weather warms up, I saw one or two when I turn off the lights. So yeah, I put an eye on this issue and try to fix this problem.
Now, when I'm reading just the most recent violations, I just see a trend of inadequate cleaning and sanitization kind of cross. Like it seems like a theme, whether it's the dishwasher, whether it's the storage, whether it's raw food versus cooked food versus vegetables and meat and fish. I just feel like there needs to be a real plan that's adhered to here. And I don't know, the trend concerns me that there's so this is a thick stack of paper here. And how much longer is this gonna go on?
So I guess,
It's all reports, right? Some good, some bad. I hear what you're saying.
The majority bad,
Yeah.
maybe a few good ones that,
With the consultant, is there a pass-fail component in that? How's that work? And like, is there certain people that take that training? Just trying to understand that process.
not so much. So depending on the food consultant, we can request that they do an audit for us in which they kind of can either give us a report similar to the DPH report that there's a certain number of violations and it's very kind of black and white. Or they could give us a report that's more so constructive where they focus on, this was an issue, this was the corrective action going forward. But in any case, they always will provide us some sort of report that tells us how it's going.
And who they worked with and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just for your own purposes, do you do photos with the reports on what you find for the?
So I don't put the photos in the report, but we do take pictures, and they are requestable through FOIA, but I just don't personally put them in the report.
I'm just curious if you have a historical record with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Regarding the supervised pH testing yesterday, and I talked to my chef after the inspection, and they know they was well trained last summer, and they know the procedure very well. And but they were nervous during the inspection, and besides the language barrier, and they didn't explain what they are doing very well to the inspector. So there must be some misunderstanding about what they are doing. So I want to say that.
something that's concerning about the sushi rice logs as well. So we saw the logs that they keep for testing each day. You're supposed to record the pH, the time at which you test. I believe the logs go back to when the HACCP was updated last year. The logs are consistently for a level 4 pH every single day, every single time they test since, last year until now. It seems unlikely that that's the case. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. When you're doing the measurements, you're not gonna get exactly 4 every single time. So to do that for every single day for months straight seems unlikely. I think the concerning thing is even after a training from a, very credible food safety consultant, and I understand that maybe there may be language barrier on the spot when you're doing the testing, but to put that into practice, you've already had to translate the materials, and now from then until now, to have that consistently, I don't know if the logs are accurate, but that's what we're concerned.
And does the chef need to know that information, or can they say, I can't recall it off the top of my head, but here's the manual where I could refer to? Is that an acceptable way to, like, I forget exactly the protocol, but if I need to do it, I look in this book and here it is.
Yes, generally. And the HACCP plan is present on site. So if it is something that they're unsure of, because it is a lengthy plan, then they have a copy of it right there that they can refer to. Yeah. But there are some expectations such as being able to, like, for example, if you're one of the trained chefs you have to be trained in order to carry out the HACCP plan, and there's a log that states everyone that's trained in the restaurant. So if you are one of the trained people to carry out the HACCP plan, then there is an expectation that you should know at least the basics, such as what's the corrective action for this? What is the control limit for the pH? Things like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for the testing, the pH testing for the supervised, we use the strips, not the meter. So they have been told by the consultant. So it's even like 4.0 or 4.5. That's why it's always when they reach the number, they feel in 4.0. There's nothing between 4.0 to 4.5, or either 4.5 or 4.0. That's the strip source. So if you read the in the old way, we use the meter, so you used to do it like 4.0 or 4.1, 4.2. The number varies, but use the strips either 4.0 or 4.5. That's the why they fill in 4.0.
Is using the strip method acceptable, or is the meter required,
That's the
or
only point. Has a
what's the rule?
The strip method is more reliable, I would say, because the electronic meters, they can be a bit of a pain to calibrate, and you have to calibrate them often.
Okay.
I think what Mark, I don't want to speak for Mark, but the test strips that he's talking about, they're based on color, and the increments go up by 0.3. So it goes from 3.7 to 4 to 4.3 to 4.6. So I think what he's saying is that it may be a little bit difficult to distinguish the color. And it may just be easier to put down what it's closest to, which may be rounder to 4.0. So there is some discretion of who is testing to be able to determine that this color is a little bit darker, it's closer to 4.3 or vice versa.
I think first, my recommendation was to be for them to remain closed until they have a company come in and professionally clean the building. I mean, everything cleaned from top to bottom. And then have this exterminator come in, do the treatment. The exterminator to call you people to go out, call our health department to go out and let us look at his report, see what he has to say, see what we say, and see how this cleaning is, and that there could be another, definitely have another, oh my God, consultant. Maybe this time, I know this girl is usually the person that's around here and she's very, very good. Maybe there is someone else that maybe would have a little bit more of the language and would help them. I don't know. That's a recommendation. You know, most of them. I only know a couple of them.
Yeah, we have a list of.
Yeah.
Different opinion too.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, it's maybe
as well.
something that's different this time. Sometimes it's some person can get across to everybody and then they can't get across to a certain person. And I think that is the main goal here, to make sure that they definitely understand and are able to perform it. But I think that they should remain closed until everything is tip top.
I guess the last thing was, I mean, after discussion tonight, I think those are great corrective actions. I think moving forward, this has been a trend. It's been since 2022, since we've been here, had one closure each year. Very similar repeated issues, and then even going back before we started here. I think our concern is that this is just going to continue. So we've had this problem in the past. We've had a restaurant that has had this kind of repeated issue. That restaurant ended up closing because it just could not meet the standard of safety that we asked. I would wonder if the board would consider, we may want to consider a potential closure if we have another really bad inspection. I mean, this was, you know, objectively a bad inspection. There was an overwhelming infestation, the same issues over and over again. I know it's a huge burden to run a restaurant, all the same issues that apply to a lot of restaurants, turnover, staff training, it's a tough economy, like that's all that, but there's still a level of safety that we have to uphold. I think because we've gotten to this point where it's just the same issues over and over, there needs to be a consideration at some point that you know, this restaurant cannot serve food safely.
What would you consider, a time period before you went back in after a food consultant went in and everything was done and the restaurant was saying, or would it be just the next unannounced one, because of it, especially when they have the rice and the sushi, you know, that's really high potential, so you can go in anytime you want.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, because the increased risk level of having sushi, that's makes this one of the, you know, one of the higher risk restaurants in Wakefield. I would hesitate to put like an exact time frame on it, just because, you know, if we're good for like, you know, if we're good for like a year, or if we're good for like, you know, if we're good for 2 years, you know, maybe we have a discussion of like, you know, maybe like this kind of probation period is over, but I think because we keep such a close eye on them already and they still have these issues, I just don't feel confident they're going to serve food safely moving forward. So I would say maybe like a year's worth of strong inspections, maybe a year and a half.
What's the criteria, like how many critical violations? I mean, I feel like we should be specific here, like in your experience, like,
Hmm.
is it the number of critical violations or is it like, is there a certain,
I think it's hard, well, go.
So when I say critical, what I refer to with that is we refer to them as priority violations, which are considered the worst, the most severe, and priority foundation, which priority foundation are the building blocks for the priority violations. Critical is just the old term that we use for it. We don't use it much anymore, but it's those two types of violations reflect the number in the top right corner. There are priorities and priority foundations that are weighed a little bit less than others, some more than others. But the way that I would interpret this is we should not see any more issues with HACCP. We should not see any more issues, which is 29. We shouldn't see any issues with food separation, which is number 15. Food storage being the proper temperature, number 22. And we definitely shouldn't see any issues with number 1, there being a knowledgeable PIC, which this time around, that wasn't an issue because when we arrived, there was a ServSafe manager on site at the time. But it has been another repeat in the past.
Oh, actually, this time we have two managers. One's me, one's my head chef. He's on site when you do inspection.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so and like I said, I didn't, that one was in
God, that one's not here
Yeah.
this time.
around, but my point is, it has been repeated in the past, so that's just something that
That comes up, that would,
yeah,
what about the rodents?
I would, yeah,
rodents
so
as well.
rodents is actually, it falls under one of the priority foundations, but some of these, it's difficult to necessarily always put a number on it because there's also a severity level. So the numbers are just the number of individual or the unique the types of violations, but there's also a like level of severity that we're seeing, right?
And this time it was severe.
It was pretty severe.
Yes.
So if we do something that they, see, but if something happens, would you want that explicit? You just want an explicit number of violations or certain ones? I mean, the rodent and the temperature and the sushi and no, the log's not right. I mean, that's very, very important.
I'm hesitant to put a number on it in that way because it's less about, I don't want to come across as we're teaching them to avoid violations. I want to come across as we want overall improvement of
A good
education.
You want
Right.
to.
Yes, and a good inspection comes with proper knowledge and proper managerial oversight.
Sure.
So
I think it's just when we're trying to think of a plan moving forward, sometimes the concrete details are helpful, but I can hear that why that maybe we hesitate, you're hesitating to say that. How long would a food safety consultant be a partner for the business?
This point, because it's this would be the third time, right? Third time he's had a consultant, I would say at least 6 months.
6 months for them.
Okay.
yeah,
So then a year does sound reasonable.
Yeah, it does.
Because 6 months, you're going to be partnered with the consultant and we'll be getting reports from that individual.
Yeah.
And then maybe 6 months to kind of fly on their own and see how it goes.
that sounds reasonable.
With the history, yeah, it's 6 months is, I think.
And then what?
And then what, if they come back within 6 months, and
that
Dan reports that they
unfavorable
have, an
inspection?
unfavorable, and more than likely it's gonna be repeaters, right? Then we can remove the food permit, we can, have the restaurant closed permanently.
Yeah.
Cause they have 2 permits, they have a food permit, and they have one for the rice, isn't it?
No, so the HACCP plan is
The HACCP
part of the food permit, but it is categorized as a variance.
It's a variance, right? So they're in violation.
They hold 2, I think they hold a food permit and a liquor license, I think.
Yeah.
Has there been a professional cleaning before? Or during,
Yeah, it doesn't say that.
Sure, if there was. Has there been a professional cleaning in the restaurant?
professional company come in and do the cleaning?
Company come in and do it.
Do you have any comments about what your experience with a consultant was? Did you gain knowledge and insight that helped you?
Yeah, just, regarding the CCPS number, so, on 2014, our first hazard plan, the PS number should be below 4.6. So when we renew the hazard plan last summer, everyone require us to get it below 4.1. That's a big difference. Yeah, that's very challenging because below 4.6 is our very preferred recipe. It tastes much better. And 4.1 is much sour.
Mhm.
So
Were there other things as far as cleaning and other things that the consultant helped you with?
the cleaning, we do it very well yesterday and today, yeah. And I know what's the point, so we put a knife on that since now on and keep it clean. Yeah, that we have no problem with that at all. The cleaning, yes. And even the tiles, so we're gonna finish the tile.
But it does sound like there was a lot of buildup when the inspection occurred in many different places. So it seems like cleaning happened recently when they asked that of you, but before that, it doesn't sound like it was happening on a regular basis. Did you have a regular cleaning plan in place?
Yeah, this we do like deep cleaning every 6 months. From now, probably we should do it once a month. Yeah, like post a half day during on Thursday morning when everyone's working on that day. So we close in the morning. So we do deep cleaning up every month. Yeah, that's our plan.
I would comment that just with my experience in the food industry, the amount of cleaning does vary on the type of restaurant. If you're a restaurant that produces quite a lot of grease, you have a fryer, double broiler, things like that, you need to clean a lot more often. In this circumstance, with his restaurant and his cook line, I would recommend cleaning behind all of his equipment once a week at the very least. And the amount of buildup of grease between his fryolator, his stove, his wok station, 7-8 months, maybe more, I would guess.
And there was,
It was a
in the
significant.
dishwasher, there was buildup like where some of the utensils were stored.
So the dishwasher, and that one's more of a lesser violation, but so food matter, and the hardness of the water, the calcium in the water kind of builds up on the inside plates, like the walls of the dishwasher. So all that just kind of built up on the sides, and it's basically just food particulates, and the hard water that sticks to the sides and needs to be cleaned. But the main thing is cleaning the food equipment. There's lots and lots of buildup, as well as just looking at different shelving throughout the restaurant, in the dry goods area specifically, where he stores a lot of just, utensils, dry foods. You can tell that there's quite a lot of buildup and it does not get cleaned regularly.
I see you mentioned the slicer and where the knives were stored. There was buildup there.
Yes, and those two are priority foundation. Those ones are of more importance, because
And the ice machine.
the ice machine as well. Yes, those are a lot more important to clean.
A lot of violation or cross contamination too, huh, with raw food, the vegetables.
Yeah.
That I noticed, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, the deli slicer is especially because it's a multi-use piece of equipment. Some places, a lot of places nowadays, they don't mix raw animal product with ready-to-eat product on them. But again, if you are a place that's doing that, you're not cleaning and sanitizing properly, there's a big risk for spreading foodborne illness that way.
Okay.
Okay. What do we want to do? Make our motion?
I can make a motion.
Okay.
That I would make a motion that we recommend a food safety to be involved. I would make a recommendation that we need to have favorable inspections for 6 months following that, unscheduled inspections. And if not, they'd be brought back before the board to review. Bearing in mind that this would be the third time they've worked with a food safety inspector. And another unfavorable inspection would make us strongly consider closing this establishment, removing their food permit.
Yeah, just add to that, please, that we possibly get a report from the consultant, like, a 30-day report.
Absolutely, yep.
Mhm.
Talk about changes.
My understanding is Dan should probably have that and we can just review it at our meetings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It also could be a recommendation to request, at least for the first maybe 1 or 2 months, that there is a weekly report done.
Wouldn't be, bad to understand the,
And if, let's say the first month, right, let's say the first month or two, there's significant improvement and they're doing very well, that could maybe be knocked down to once a month or once every 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll add that.
second your motion.
Oh, thank you. All right, so with the,
Are we adding anything for them not to be opened until we see that it's done a professional cleaning and do another?
That could
you
be,
okay with that?
well, how's it been left right now? Like how, when you guys asked them to close?
so we would need to go back, we would need to find no more violations that we've seen at this last report. It would have to have been deep cleaned. We have to see a comprehensive pest control report being done. That can be more done operationally. I don't know that you guys need to
You can
put on
just
that part.
check it If it's,
Do-
not, they could open.
Yeah, we would make sure that, they can't open until, everything is corrected.
Okay, Dan, can you read me back that motion? I think I wrote, to have a food safety consultant.
So to recommend a food safety consultant be involved in favorable, with unscheduled inspections to be had for 6 months. And if not in compliance, they will be brought back to the board to review. Bearing in mind that this is the third time they're working with a food consultant, they'll be brought back to review and strongly consider permanent revocation of their food permit.
And did you want to add?
And then
the
add
first
on the request for
Weekly.
weekly,
Weekly.
initial weekly inspections from the food consultant. With an understanding that that the frequency could be made to monthly if they are found to be favorable.
Given the severity of the concerns, I would think that your next steps would show intent and, what you're planning to do to resolve some of these issues that are causing you a problem and the community a concern, so.
You want to second that? Will second and Marcy will second, all in favor?
Linnea and I.
Silver eye, so passed for the three of us, Mr. Singh, I hope you take this with great seriousness. And I do hope that with another round of a full consultant, it works. All right, otherwise it's a third strike, as they say in baseball.
I think this is an opportunity and to work with an individual that has
Appreciate that.
experience and to, your business is well loved in this community and we'd like to keep it open, but more than that, keep it safe.
Yeah, I'm like very big babysitter in the restaurant.
How long have you owned the business?
11 years.
11 years. And do you own any other businesses in any other place? This is your own one, right?
That's enough.
This is it. Okay.
Enough.
Making sure. That's all. Okay. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Alright, so we move on to the agenda. We now will move on to the Wakefield convenience food permit and the tobacco violation. Anthony?
I'll start. Maureen can fill in some of the gaps. And also thank you for coming to the meeting tonight. So we received an application from Wakefield Convenience for a food permit, I would say a few weeks ago. So they currently serve non-TCS prepackaged food only. And historically, they have held a tobacco permit, not under this current owner, but under a previous owner. Under the previous owner, I remember when the flavor sale was.
Gee, I don't.
It would have been in it would have been sometime like late 2024.
Yeah.
So later in 2024, there was a person that went in to do a attempted purchase of a flavored product. We have flavored products are banned in Massachusetts. So they went in, they asked the clerk to purchase a flavored product. They were sold a flavored product. So Maureen was, they gave it back to Maureen, and so we issued them a fine. This was under the previous owner. They paid the fine. They acknowledged that they sold a flavored product, which is not legal. Under our Wakefield Board of Health regulations, we have a decreasing cap on permits. And so when this owner sold the business to the current owner, they were not able to receive a new tobacco permit due to our decreasing permit cap here in Wakefield. That means that they shouldn't have been selling tobacco products since that change in ownership. There have been some conditions that made us believe that there might be tobacco products on site. And they had asked for a new food permit, so we conducted a full inspection of the establishment. And when we did the initial inspection from the food safety side, we saw an out of control rodent infestation, just rodent feces on lots of different products, on the floor, in the shelves, even as much as inside the cash register, just an overwhelming amount of rodent feces. In the storage room as well, there was whole food packages torn open, clearly eaten by rodents over time. So that in itself was very concerning. Even though it's generally low risk prepackaged food, severe rodent infestation is an issue. But part of our inspection, we happened to come across a large quantity of tobacco products on site. So these aren't all the pictures, but these are most of the pictures that highlight the important parts.
Thank you.
So you'll see on the first page, there's two pictures, one depicting the storage of most of the tobacco products in the storage room. And on the right side, you'll see a variety of products, including flavored products and 5% nicotine products. These should not have been on site. They don't currently hold a tobacco permit. We have reasonable suspicion that they may still be selling these flavored products because the flavored products were discovered in an accessible spot in the storage closet. I believe the owner and the clerk have both said that they're not selling these products, but there really is no reason for them to have them on site. So we have genuine concern that they may still be selling products. And the last time we were there, they still had the old signage up, so they still had their neon sign with the vapes, cigarettes, cigars, I think. The sign posted, an advertisement for Zyn, which is those nicotine pouches, still posted in the window when the store had turned over owners, well over 6 months ago.
When they turned over owners, did they think of applying for a tobacco product?
They did.
Tobacco, they did think of.
We did. Yes, but because of our decreasing permit cap that the board voted in 2022, there was no available tobacco permit, and we made that very clear to them that was the case.
All right, I just thought that if it was sold to the same type of store, they could apply for it and just keep that number, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Can you look that up again? Because I think in the process of our decreasing the amount, we had X amount. And that if a business sold a convenience store to a convenience store, that permit was like already there, but they could reapply, they could apply for that. You could transfer that over. But whereas if your store sold and it wasn't a convenience store, it was a pizza place or I don't know, there was one that had a bookstore, stuff like that, that automatically that permit was gone forever. But I thought there was wording, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, there have been a couple of versions. So when we first did a permit cap in these local communities, including Wakefield, we did an older style permit cap, which was what you just described, back when Ruth was here. So if that address, that spot went so many months with no store that would sell tobacco products, so they didn't apply for tobacco products, so say it was a dress shop or hair salon or something, then that permit would be permanently, unavailable. Then, that was probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And then more recently, in 2022, there was a new tobacco permit or new tobacco permit wording. And that wording was no new permits to be issued after 5/1/23, I think, or so, you have to look it up, but it was an upgrade to the older tobacco permit, which had more allowance for a new store coming in there.
So originally, there used to be either a 30 or 60-day grace period when a permit was returned, essentially, when a business sold, the permit returned. So transfer was never allowed. But because there was a grace period, that's what essentially was a transfer, was a loophole, essentially, that allowed for a transfer. When we had this
Sell this.
Hmm?
Like, this wasn't out to be sold, right?
It was in the back,
In a-
but somebody could buy it. If you walked in and if I walked in there tomorrow and yesterday I walked in there and I asked for this, they would have sold it to me because that's what they had done, right?
well, so this is all under
Yeah.
all our suspicion. It's based on the conditions that we found that they were.
I think it might be a little more complicated than that. I did a compliance check fairly recently and a trained youth buyer went into the store. And as per usual, when they come back to the car, they tell me what happened, what transpired. And she said, that was weird. And I said, oh, what happened? And she said, well, he asked me if I live in the area and had I been in the store before. And to me, and I had a previous one with that same thing, maybe, I don't know how many months earlier. And to me, it sounded like a code. So it's just a strange thing to ask a young person when you go into the store. And so I was suspicious based on that conversation. And then we had there were some other issues, longstanding issues. When the store first changed hands, we went in there and you and I went and did an inspection and talked to the new owner and said they had a lot of tobacco product out in the retail area. And we said, you have to get rid of that. And they were going to store it temporarily in the storeroom. The owner lives in New York, is my understanding. And he was going to come like with a truck or whatever and transfer it to another store that didn't have the same restrictions. And then when we did this inspection, it started with a food inspection with Dan and Anthony. And then they called me because of all the tobacco products. And then, I joined them and there were a lot of tobacco products. And they had moved them to the storeroom, but there was a box open so that you could reach in and get a flavored product out, and we call that accessible. Also, when a store doesn't have a permit, they can't have products in the building, period. We're pretty generous in terms of giving them some time to get them off premises. And we did that, but now it's been months.
So when we say accessible, the conditions of the storeroom, it was the storage room were deplorable. It was completely, everything was covered in dust and rodent feces, but the box that we pulled out was in the immediate left when you walk into the store, and was the first thing you could have grabbed. It's the easiest one. And the products inside were all flavored vape products, and they didn't seem quite as old as all the other stuff. They seemed relatively new. They were wrapped in a bag. If you look on your first page on the right, whichever more colorful side, on the right side, you'll see on the bottom, maybe bottom left,
Oh, yeah, the berry boost.
the berry
Max.
blast lemonade. That's the flavor. Those were like relative. Haven't even been opened. So those are brand new packaging. And then you have a whole bunch of loose flavored vapes as well. So those are generally your bigger sellers. I mean, it hasn't, not Massachusetts because it's not legal, but flavored products, there is a reason why they're so popular and why they're not legal here. It's because they're so addictive. And so that's.
Did the previous owner also have tobacco violations? Did they? Do you remember, Maureen?
Before that sale of a flavored product.
Yeah.
I can't, and I didn't run a report because that's not the owner that we're talking about. So I didn't run that report and I can't remember, Elaine.
They did, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of times. You're not gonna get a tobacco permit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No one. Number two,
Can't have flavored products.
yeah, and number two is their food permit. I mean, I know they got prepackaged food, but if you find something that's got teeth marks and there's rodent stuff in there, then, you know, they can get through that little plastic. We can't open it sometimes with our hands, but they can get through it with their teeth. I mean, so right then and there, that's not a good thing.
This is not the first time. The last time we went, the old owner, so the justification of the current owner is that, you know, a lot of this is from the old owner, they just never cleaned anything. Not a strong argument, but I think when we were there last time for a tobacco inspection, we still saw quite a bit of droppings. And we had given them a chance, you know, you need to clean this. We can't see these next time. This is next time, and we're still seeing an overwhelming amount, if not more than last time.
How long is this new person owned?
It's late 2024.
Yeah, about 6 months, maybe.
6 months.
Maybe.
Does it look dramatically different in there?
No, it looks, besides the.
Not like, there's been some.
Besides the additional products like switchblades and stuff like that, that they've added to the store.
Oh.
No, this is the, as Marcy was asking, this is the one over the.
Yes, so Veterans Field across next to the laundromat.
You kind of can't see it from North Ave.
Yeah.
So
Right down Prospect Street and it's
Off of Elm by the laundromat?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So can I ask you, so what were they actually selling in this store? Were they selling lottery? They must have a
They
lottery.
have
license.
They have a lottery.
lottery.
That's right.
and
okay.
prepackaged.
And
stuff.
prepackaged
I guess
food
for-
next to the laundromat.
There's a bait sign in the windows. I don't know if they.
They
really-
sell fishing
They
bait,
sell,
like worms.
Oh, like
Oh,
night
bait.
crawlers. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, now that's what I remember seeing in it.
And most recently, actually, they were granted a liquor license from the town council, I believe, Wakefield Convenience on Elm Street, is that?
Oh. So they're gonna sell liquor.
I believe at least, is that correct?
This,
Off Wall Street was, I think.
I'm not sure that this was
And then
them.
one green.
Yeah.
Well, it was for Elms, where, I thought it wasn't them.
I don't remember. I know the last two we did was the,
Greenwood.
Greenwood, the gas station in Greenwood, and then the one, yeah, again, up by Montrose.
Oh, okay, so.
But again, it's possible that we did a liquor license before. I can't recall this one.
So, they have reached, I mean, again, this is informal. They've reached out to us. They were asking about the process of getting a liquor license. This is after owners have changed hands. What's concerning to me is I don't know that we can trust them with a food permit right now.
Yeah, we have not granted a food permit, is that correct?
We have not yet. Currently, so there's, you know, generally there's debate whether we need to at the local level permit risk one establishments, risk ones being your prepackaged only stores. Generally because it's low risk, but in this case, this is not a low risk establishment in our eyes anymore because they're selling, you know, food that's tampered with. So I think we need to have a discussion about, you know, we likely won't issue this permit until there's a massive change. Like the other restaurant, we would need to have a deep cleaning. We would need some regular control, pesticide control reports. It would be strange for us to issue a food safety consultant only because it's a convenience store. So there's not a lot that they would be doing other than.
When they're just potentially getting food.
You're right.
Right.
Yes.
So sell coffee and tea? And is that all prepackaged creamer?
No, it's all non-TCS. I don't know. He doesn't have coffee or
The
anything.
coffee.
Oh,
makes-
I
see
see
a
the
coffee maker,
machines. I
man.
see the machine.
yeah,
I believe they're just using that for personal use,
Yeah,
which
I just-
they said.
regardless, yeah, you technically shouldn't have that
Yeah.
way. But
Should be in there.
But what's like, is the microwave to heat up like a,
that was from the last owner. And I'd be inclined to think the coffee maker was also from the last owner.
Can I
Okay,
just,
Charlie?
just to clarify, it looks like on the March 10th town council agenda, they were granted a common victualler license, not a liquor license as far as I'm seeing.
wine and spirits?
Is common vic required for places without seating? I was trying to forget.
Yeah, so any establishment that's serving any sort of food, if it's takeout or sit down, requires a common vic license. So we did grant the license, though that may be something we need to back to
Yeah.
the council based on the findings that you've described.
So, yeah, so I think it's great that you come to a lot of our meetings. I think this is like the kind of cross-board kind of like, kind of work that we want to do. Yeah, so I think just want the board to be aware, the reason we didn't have them come tonight is because they actually don't hold either of our permits. They don't hold tobacco or food permits, so, ask them to come, it'd be easier to ask like a food permit holder to come. But this is more informational for the board. The reason why we won't be issuing a food permit until there's been drastic changes. And then also to other licenses that are granted by the town council, we wanted to kind of, be able to present these, jointly. So,
How is it left with the owners?
I think the
Like, what do
owner,
they need to do with these
What
nicotine
are they
products?
selling it for now?
so actually, Maureen,
Yeah, so while we were there was so much stuff, and we don't confiscate, typically, we don't confiscate tobacco products, even illegal ones. But if there's an egregious amount, then I call the DOR agent for this region, and we were there last Friday. We had them box everything up, tape it, and leave it right where it was. And the DOR agent was gonna go by yesterday and pick it up. I did email him earlier today. I hadn't heard back from him by the end of the day.
So ideally, all the nicotine products should be gone now.
Should be gone.
And so is there a plan to kind of inspect again to see if because if it's all gone now, then anything found.
yes,
That's right.
Going forward,
Right.
Our inspections should be new, brought in,
Yep,
which is
that's correct.
a big deal, like
It should be nothing.
you tell us you forgot or you didn't know, or okay, fine, now it's gone.
so, we've asked him if he would like us to conduct another inspection, he can let us know, but that has to be post cleaning, has to be post all tobacco products removed.
Can we inspect purely to see if there are tobacco products?
I mean, generally because I'm not a tobacco permit holder, we don't normally inspect, but if we have suspicion, I guess we can check.
Okay. I mean, this is a pretty suspicious thing that happened.
Yeah,
So following up on.
right, there is enough training, go back and make sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go back to make sure that it all was taken out by them, boxed up and done.
And we would still want, if we're, even after this, and this is corrected and they move forward and they actually do get a food permit. When we do a food inspection, we'll still do a comprehensive inspection of all spaces, because
Sure.
there is.
What I'm hoping is that we can follow this, even if perhaps they don't decide to pursue their food permit. I'd like to make sure that like we kind of
Oh, I see,
Right,
I see. what you're
yes,
saying.
yes, absolutely.
nicotine issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
maybe they're like, ah, forget it, getting a food permit's hard, I don't want to do that. Fine, good for you, don't do
Right.
that. But I want to make sure that this is gone and that
Yeah.
a new box of it doesn't show up or.
No, we left clear instructions, and the clerk who was there we had him call the owner who's in New York and spoke to the owner by phone to explain, what we found and what was wrong and what he needed to do. And so I don't know how late they're open, but I'll drive by on my way home. And
Does,
they're open today. I'll be over there tomorrow. I will check.
they are open despite the findings of the rodents and whatnot, right?
This time they are, but
What's
I'm,
the follow-up on that cleaning requirement, I would imagine.
yeah.
They don't have to clean if they don't want to have a food permit, right? They can just like,
What are they gonna sell? Just.
I think the,
it's just all the package stuff, like.
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
chips, candy, bottled drinks,
Liquor.
medically sealed drinks.
They don't have a
No
liquor
liquor
license.
license, so what are they, I don't know what they're gonna do because,
It's probably just.
I think just-
Stuff,
Yeah.
like, for people doing the laundry next door or
Yeah.
people walking
A
by.
few people
Right.
came in during the inspection and I think they were just buying lottery.
yeah,
you know,
There's not a lot of other spots over there, so I bet, like,
No.
that's their spot.
probably a little.
so I think the follow-up, like you said, would be to conduct another inspection. If they continue to struggle and are unable to keep the place clean and safe, I think we have the purview as a town to remove all even packaged stuff, all food products, just.
Yeah, I would
because
think
it's-
for any place with consumable,
Yeah.
products, that cleanliness is kind of top of the list,
Yeah.
Even the prepackaged, because like you said,
Yeah.
they were in there, definitely was opened and God knows what was in it, really. You didn't take every box apart that was opened. You don't know. I would have, I think I It's bad when you have that history and you just say, close the door, that's it. Clean it and we'll see what we can do for you tomorrow, but I know, it's so sad.
Is there anything on the town council side that you would like, we can give you a report of the findings, like, I don't know what would be helpful, I guess.
Yeah, I think that, so again, because they were granted the common victualler license, even though they don't have the food permit, I think that may be something that we would want to potentially look at revoking. I don't know the process for doing that, and so it may be a follow-up, maybe offline. We can follow up with town council Mullen just to figure out the right next steps. But again, just given the cleanliness issues that you've demonstrated, I mean, given what seems to be a fairly significant kind of compliance issue around sort of the selling of tobacco products, my opinion is that it's worth a conversation to see if there's actions we want to take to revoke the common victualler license.
I'll put it on hold at least till they really show that they can do something.
So we'll reach back out to them.
Thank you.
We'll let them know, that we are ready for an inspection, but, yeah, we'll need to go make sure everything is.
Not bad. Anything else? Any other comments? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
These pictures are helpful in color too. Thank you for that.
Yeah. He likes to take.
It's a good use of
pictures.
paper. Usually I'm not excited about a big waste of paper, but
Trying to.
like put this on my fridge at home.
Yeah.
Printing up the Socorro report. It's painful.
Next to like Taylor's, artwork.
Do you want to do the public health nurses report before yours? Or are you going to integrate them?
Oh, I'll have to.
We'll do Melissa. It's your turn.
All right, I'm gonna be fast. Okay, so we have a fair amount of, this is for the last 2 months, from March 1 through yesterday. And so we had 59 cases of flu, just under 5 cases of COVID. And then everything else is really a few cases of norovirus. And then everything else is starting to be salmonella, shigella, the alphabet.
Yeah.
And the biases.
Time of year.
So,
I'm allergic to that stuff.
yeah, but not a lot of cases. So Wakefield is doing better than Melrose by far. In terms of what we're doing besides the communicable disease monitoring, I was with Sandy today. She did her first big Narcan presentation for our town staff. It was at the senior center. And they're going to be putting in Narcan boxes near in all the town buildings near where the AEDs are. And there will be trainings available in this room for all town staff. And those are getting scheduled. And Tom was there. He's been very helpful to us. And we have CPR dummies to be able to demonstrate and samples and things. So to help people really understand what they can do from the sidelines to be involved. And we get free Narcan from the state that we can pass out. No names taken, nothing. So, it remains anonymous. We're just trying to make sure that the OD, number of ODs goes down. The other thing is all the public health nurses in all 3 towns are working on sort of a library of things that we can share, because it's tick and mosquito time again almost. And we've already had a number of tick sightings and requests saying, what are you going to do about this? When it really is here is what you need to do and how you can keep yourself and your family safe from ticks. And that will be, we'll put those into some nice graphics that Jen can help with and post on the health website and do a few other things. And then I'm going to be pulling together something about measles. Even though there are no measles cases in Massachusetts.
Did you get to see the webinar yesterday? Did you do the webinar with the state yesterday?
I did most of it.
I did,
with
yeah.
the, with the training module.
Yeah, it was done, yeah, with infectious and Hillary, and then when it was excellent, excellent. And
Yes.
one of the practices that they recommended, it was one that I implemented years ago, where I was before. I was surprised that she even recommended it.
And Elaine, there is,
Yes.
MIIS is doing an
Yeah,
immunization
they're gonna do another one.
Wednesday report, every week, and tomorrow is measles,
Yeah.
12 to 1.
Probably
No,
this-
sorry, yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. This one was yesterday on that weekly. Did you watch it, Anthony? You usually go in on those.
I did not make.
Actually, I actually talked to another public health nurse today. We had a discussion about it and it was very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Last thing I'm gonna mention is really for Candace.
Yes.
Sandy and I have done a ton of work on the camp regulations, and we had a special presentation for all the camps in our 3 towns, and it was a mandatory training. Anthony was there, and we had people come, and we have asked them to hand in their binders on May 1st, which they won't manage to meet that deadline, but they'll be coming. But the big thing is that we are going to be focusing a lot on training of non-medical staff. Their healthcare consultant needs to train each person, because we're seeing a lot more medications that have serious side effects and everything in kids that are attending camp. Kids are sicker, and that take routine medications. We want to make sure that if they are getting any sort of meds at camp, that the people that are giving those medications know what they're doing, know how to give it properly, are identifying the children appropriately, and and documenting.
Good.
Documenting properly, and that everything comes to the camp in the original packaging. Sometimes they were accepting, just a bottle from parents,
Like a plastic bag of pills.
Yeah.
plastic bag with pills,
It's a big one.
liquid medication with a dropper with no markings on it.
No, like letter from the pediatrician.
No,
or like,
no.
says
So,
gotta do that.
yeah. So we're doing a lot of training, and we will be back to, check on that over the course of the summer. So that's nursing.
I love
In a
it.
nutshell.
Love it.
Thank you.
The report is short. The report is short. We only have 2 major things. One tomorrow is actually Erin Carleo's last day with us. In the department. She's our senior inspector. She has worked here for over 3 years, has done great work. We're very excited for her plans moving forward. Yeah, so
What are her plans? Can you share? Or,
I believe she plans on spending more time with her family.
oh, cool.
Yeah, and she'll still be around. She's a wealth of knowledge. She has a lot of great experience to give. I do not believe this will be the last time she'll be in our field.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah.
But she talked about potentially going to nursing school.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, another one, huh? We have her in class this time.
Let's just get a master's in public health. We can skip
She
that.
already has one.
Oh, shoot.
She
all right.
does. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I had a.
Then I guess she needs a
master's,
nursing degree.
Yeah, she needs that nurse.
Round it out.
Yeah, that's all.
So we wish her the best. And she's been a great asset for us.
Yeah, she was good.
Then we also have additional good news. We have hired a new administrative assistant. And Dan
Hanging me out to dry.
yes, we're putting Dan out of a job. Dan's enjoyed these last couple months of
Get to be
doing 2 jobs at once. So, yeah. Cannot thank Dan enough for all the work he's
Yes,
put in.
thank you, Dan.
2 jobs.
I missed administrative day and I'm sorry. Wow.
Okay, I got you covered. I'll be
Since I got it covered. Kidding?
But yes, we're very excited. We will announce the person at the next meeting, but we have hired, they're going through the employment protocols. And we're happy that they will likely join us at the next meeting. So, yeah, we're excited. to have them.
Yeah, when are they starting?
May 12th.
May 12th.
May 12th is the projected date, so she should be here before before our next meeting.
It's an internal transfer.
Oh, okay, good.
That's all I had.
Next meeting.
Next meeting, I guess. Oh, yeah, now we have to, well. we
Now
have
you
to
need your
decide.
phone.
I don't need my phone. What did we do? I continue each year to the first of July. What did we do the last time?
I feel like we always meet in May.
We always meet in May, so. Wait till
And
the
then,
next one, then we decide what the heck we want to
I
do.
mean, so do we take like June, July, August?
We take
off?
just July off.
Oh. All right.
This, well,
So-
August too, if there's nothing. Let
So
me
I will
check.
say I will not be
You
here.
won't be
in
here
June.
June, huh?
So
Oh.
You guys can have the meeting, I just won't be here.
That's right. You're gonna be a married man.
It'll
until
be
you-
like totally off the rails without you, Anthony. No, they keep. Yeah. Who's gonna corral all this?
But
You can call me.
And
you have to be here all night. No one's gonna stop. They don't charge by the hours.
A big pillow fight. over it.
What do you call it? All right. So you're gonna be here in May? When do you, all right.
May 21st would be the third Wednesday of the month.
Why is that? I can always change my life. I'll be retired by then. Yeah,
Again,
Marcy, is that cool?
That works for me, May, yes.
May 21st.
First, okay.
6:30 somewhere.
So,
They're here or public safety somewhere.
and then in June, well, you will be gone the beginning of June, right? But what are you doing?
Beginning of June, and I'll probably come back for like the second week of June, and I'll be gone third and last week of June.
All right, cool.
Okay, so maybe might have to have an early.
So maybe we could consider like not meeting June, July, and then August, meet in August.
Yeah, as long as we don't have anything big. I don't think you'll have anything big because the camps won't be in, excuse me, full swing yet, so.
Right.
We should be
Yeah,
okay.
camp starts the 23rd June.
Does it? Oh, wow.
Camp Q does at least.
yeah. Start earlier.
Really? I mean, the
When
little
does school get out?
18th.
Oh,
Wow.
no,
So that's like
start the next Monday.
Wednesday before. Yeah. No snow days this year.
Yeah, that's right. That was a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
It would have been bonkers to like have them not go to school Juneteenth
And
and
then go
then
back.
like go back for Friday, like
A couple of school systems.
it would have been
did
like a
that last
mutiny.
year.
Fort Beverly, they're going to school until July.
Yeah, well, we did that one year here when we had the teachers strike, so that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Any other comments or anything else? Anything to look forward to or anything? No? Okay, well, Nurses Week is coming up. So let you know. Nurses Month, maybe it should be Nurses Month. I had a card in my.
That's the question.
He goes, Nurses Week is coming. I go, yeah, like next week. And he goes, well, I think Law Enforcement Week is the week later. I said, I don't think so. I think they got rid of that. I just look on the calendar now. Well, thank you, everyone. Can we have a motion to adjourn? Okay.
Second.
Nancy, she's second. All in favor?
On the hand.
Okay, and Silver Eye. Okay, it's just my hearing, and that's it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you
You.
in a few weeks. Thank you, Jonathan, for taking
Thank you.
time. I appreciate it.